Welcome to the Three-Man Weave Show, hosted by SportsbookReview.com. Monday, championship week of sorts. Lots of conference tournaments, lots of games to talk about. A smaller slate today, guys. We're probably going to hit every game, but that's great. That's good news for everybody out there in the chat mob and watching at home. Before we start, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel. As usual, SBR Sports Picks is your YouTube channel. Go to two different websites. I'm going to give you both, sbrpicks.com/NCAAB for college basketball content. And then, of course, to be part of the madness, March Madness, sbrpicks.com/March-Madness. Check that out for all your March Madness needs. Let's get some takeaways from the weekend. Talk to my fellow Weavers. Jim Root, start us off out in Vegas. Takeaways from the weekend.
I've got a lot to say, so I'm going to fly through it quick. First, I do this little trick where for the next 4 weeks, I say it's the best week of the year. So we'll start that. Best week of the year.
It's just one long week. One long 4-week week.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly. Second, Ky, we love as bracketologists when bubble teams make it obvious. They tell you what to do with them. Michigan State tells us they're in, knocking off Michigan. And Matt, your Duke Blue Devils, they say, don't worry about us. We'll lose by 20 at North Carolina. We're not interested. And finally, I want Drake in my field. I think they've done enough without Penn, without Hemphill, and they should get Hemphill back in 2 weeks. So I want Drake in the field. That's what I got, Matt.
Jim, we got the one team I wanted badly in yesterday, and it was just a awesome performance. The Winthrop Eagles confirming what I think we all knew all season. This team is as good as any that they'll see in the first round. I think the opening spread that you'll see, whoever they catch, will be inflated. They have DJ Burns inside, who's like the ultimate neutralizer against any Power 6 team. He's a guy who we've called Zach Randolph many times. You throw it inside, get you a bucket. They can beat you with pace and space, get hot from three. They have athletes they can defend. Chandler Valdron's a walking mismatch for whoever they see. I just feel bad for whoever catches this team first round because I will be putting a large sum of money on them. Money line, spread. I just was in complete awe yesterday against the Campbell Camels, who were on fire to start, but Winthrop just kept throwing haymakers right back, Ky.
Yeah, it's a weird team. DJ Burns, Matt, is a weird type of player. He only plays like 15 minutes per game. I couldn't put him on the all-conference team in the Big South because of that.
His coach even says he's not in great shape. He's like, he's not in perfect shape. But
he's clearly dominant. I mean, the guy was a top 100 recruit for Tennessee. He can clearly play. Winthrop, monster. Guys, actually, my two takeaways were, hey, Michigan State, right now, they're in the tournament. Like it or not, it seemed like it was destined, that win against Michigan yesterday. 9 wins, Q1, Q2, number 6 strength of schedule. They're in right now. Apologies to all the Spartan haters. Congrats also to the bid punchers. Aside from Winthrop, I am thrilled as well, Matt, that Winthrop's in the dance. It sucks about Belmont. I think we wanted Belmont in the dance, guys, but alas, we'll have to live with Morehead State and Jonai Broome. It's a good consolation prize. Okay, enough about that. Let's head into the rundown, talk some conference tournament games. Starting in the horizon with Northern Kentucky versus Oakland, the Norse. Small favorites here, -1.5. First game of the year between these teams, actually. NKU is coming off a tip-in at the buzzer, Matt, to beat Detroit, and Oakland just beat Youngstown State in overtime. It's been a few days. Quite a break between the quarters and the semis here. Do you lean either way in this game?
Yeah, I think I like Oakland every time they're on the slate, Ky. So nothing changes for me here tonight, but I actually have a valid reason this time as opposed to just blindly loving Oakland and Greg Kampe and the two guards that they have in Jalen Moore and Rashad Williams. We've mentioned all throughout the year that Oakland's been a feisty team, especially in the first legs of those back-to-backs. This is a brand new zone that Greg Kampe's instilled this season. It looked horrible to start the year, and it's been a lot better in conference play. As you mentioned, first time Northern Kentucky will see Oakland this season. I think that matters. I think there could be some feeling out, some bumpy turbulence to start for NKU's offense. While Oakland hasn't seen NKU use tricky, quirky zone, Jim, I do think the fact that Darren Horn played it last year, Greg Kampe saw it, I think there's a little bit more familiarity. And so for that reason, I think there's a strong edge here for the Grizz. I will take Grizz as an official show play, fellas.
All right. I lean Grizz just numerically, but I think NKU zone is still way better than Oakland zone. Oakland's, I don't know. Yeah. It just looks easy to score against when I watch it. Like, they're not really resisting much. They're kind of like just trying to entice you into take a quick shot, and then they'll get the rebound and go and try to outscore you with Moore and Rashad Williams. But NKU zone is tricky. It's really long. They basically are funneling you into that free throw line area. And I think Northern Kentucky has some guys they can stick there, but It'll be interesting to see if they can finish. UIC played a somewhat similar zone against Northern Kentucky, and they were able to score. So we'll see. I kind of lean towards Oakland, like I said on the number, but this one's a stay away from me. Horizon has obviously been just a complete wild card in terms of postseason play so far. I just hope we get another great game between these two.
Well, the good news for Oakland, guys, NKU can't really shoot, so they won't be totally punishing the zone from the outside, at least theoretically. Of course, you can always get hot. Trayvon Faulkner is one of those guards in March that we certainly like to ride. But I like Jalen Moore a lot for Oakland. He's really impressed me this season, in addition to Rashad Williams. Oakland can definitely rebound out of NKU's zone, even if they can't quite crack it. Great coaching matchup. Greg Campy, Darren Horn, both good coaches here. I do lean towards Oakland with you, Matt.
Yeah.
I think that's the right side today. I feel like I kind of lean the dogs in these Horizon matchups in the tournament. It's been so crazy, like Jim said.
Every game's going to land 1 point. If you can get plus 1.5.
Right.
And I think, plus 1.5 is the updated number per SBRodds.com. So, boom, lock it in, fellas.
And we're moving on.
And females, excuse me.
And females. We're moving on to the next game in the Horizon. Milwaukee versus Cleveland State. I mean, guys, by the way, Cleveland State -3, -3.5. Milwaukee trailed 72-48 to the best team in the league and had a 0.0% win probability. And they won in overtime, Jim. It was probably the craziest comeback ever. I mean, you could probably call it that. It was just absolutely nuts. But, Jim, Cleveland State needed 3 overtimes to beat Purdue Fort Wayne. Any edge in this game? Short spread.
Yeah, it not just needed overtime. They needed a banked 3 from their 260-pound big man from the top of the key to even send it to triple overtime. Cleveland State is now number 1 in Ken Palm's luck stat. They are kissed by an angel this season. They passed Navy after Navy dropped to Loyola, Maryland over the weekend. So, the first 2 meetings of these two were super tight. I would guess that's the case again. Probably would lean towards Milwaukee just getting points because it feels like these games are going to be coin flips. But, Milwaukee's got some versatile wings that can give Cleveland State some problems. If Cleveland State goes inside to Big Al, they can probably score on a thinner front line for Milwaukee.
Yes.
But neutral floor, I'm not going to take a total here. I just lean towards taking the points, Matthew.
Wait, I wanted to clarify that location of this game is in Cleveland. I thought Cleveland State was actually hosting this game. Am I wrong about that? No.
No, this is in Indianapolis, Farmers Coliseum at IUPUI.
I didn't tell then. Anyway, put that aside, Jim. Your point about Big Al Eichelberger.
I hope that wasn't part of your Oakland play.
No, it was not. I promise. But hey, this is a big matchup edge here for the Vikes. It's almost like Dennis Gates was playing rope-a-dope with Al Eichelberger all season. I know he's been chronically injured, so I believe that's probably part of the equation as to why he didn't play much. But the last 2 games absolutely unleashed him. He had 38 minutes, then overtime, triple overtime win against Purdue Fort Wayne. Completely dominated the game. 20 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. Milwaukee was murdered up front against Wright State's bigs. Eichelberger is not as good as Love or Basile, but I think he's that type of prototype that can really give Milwaukee problems. So yeah, big matchup, Lee. I think they go inside out here and pick apart the, athletic but thin up front Panther defense.
These teams actually split during the regular season, guys. I was surprised. I forgot Milwaukee actually beat Cleveland State. Yeah, Cleveland State, man, so well coached. I'm rooting for Dennis Gates, frankly. I'm rooting for Cleveland State to make the tournament. Tajon Lucas, though, Power 6 talent, former Illinois player, point guard for Milwaukee. He handles the ball well, makes Cleveland State's defense a little bit less intimidating. That has been what the Vikings have been riding this season, especially. Their defense has been fantastic. And Milwaukee defends the paint well. You're going to have to force Cleveland State to shoot. That's not always a good thing for the Vikings. I kind of do lean towards the Panthers, even though it is 3.5. Again, kind of just leaning towards the dogs here in the Horizon. But moving on, nothing strong. I lean the cat as the dog. Going to Mercer versus UNC Greensboro, kicking off our SoCon coverage here. I guess it's the only SoCon game because it is the championship. Winner gets to go to the NCAA tournament. And actually, Jim, this game is being steamed -5 now. Greensboro is up to. I'm seeing. First of all, wow, Mercer, a team we were high on in the preseason and then kind of got disappointed, took care of business against VMI after a wild Wofford affair. Greensboro, though, man, just looks comfortable. Breezed past ETSU, firing on all cylinders. Jim, which way should we go today?
I'm frustrated that got steamed. It was -4 when we were prepping for the show, no less than 20 minutes ago. So I'm begrudgingly going to do this, but I'm still going Greensboro best bet here. I just think Mercer playing fourth game in 4 days. They haven't been mega stressed in those games, but Greensboro has one less game on the mileage ticker here.
Yeah.
And they're just deeper. It's a more athletic, deep team, whereas Mercer's kind of rocking 7 guys. And the Mercer guards cannot stop penetration. That wasn't a problem against VMI, who is not like a heavy attack the rim team, but Isaiah Miller is the best dribble driver in the entire conference. So he's going to, I think, torture them, get to the lane, and the pressure probably gets a little bit into the Mercer legs as well. So Greensboro -5 will be my best bet.
Jim, I think you hit all the points I had. The only thing I will throw in there is both regular season meetings this year. It was pretty much a one-sided affair. You look at the final score of the second leg, the rematch that was at Mercer. UNC Greensboro was up 10 most of the way, and Mercer with a furious comeback, as they've been kind of the comeback kids and I guess squandering lead kids. They just all their games were just wild swings back and forth. It's just
maybe a live bet if one team gets up 15 here.
So yeah, play this one like an NBA type game. But I think UNCG is the right side. I just don't see how Mercer holds up with, I should mention the spot, the depth, the athletes that Greensboro will throw at you. Somewhat Isaiah Miller too. His sort of last stand. He's been a pinnacle player in this conference for multiple years. I think he's been in this spot before. He just kind of has that gusto. That's a guy I want to bet on in this situation.
This might come out a couple times actually. Yeah, being in this spot before. Greensboro has been here several times. Wes Miller's been here several times. Mercer, this is the first time I can remember them being in the championship of the SoCon. Haven't made a tournament in quite a while. Isaiah Miller, great player to hitch your good horse, I said, to hitch your wagon to. That pressure defense is going to bother Mercer. You have a rebound advantage. You have an athleticism advantage. I just really think this is Greensboro's game. Jim, of course, shooting is a great equalizer. Mercer could just get hot and cover that 5-point spread, but I will lean towards the more sure things that UNCG has going for it and lean your way. Moving on, Sun Belt Championship, a surprise contender here. Appalachian State is facing Georgia State, the non-surprising contender. Does App State have the stamina, Matt? It's their 4th game in 4 days. The last 2 games have gone to overtime. They beat Texas State, the top seed in the tournament, 2 seed Coastal. And I mean, this spread's big, but that game, the 4 games in 4 days is stuck in my mind here. Which side are you leaning, number or situation?
Yeah, it just feels so obvious to take Georgia State here, right? Not this early steam has pushed this up to 7, open at -5.5. I think that's the right side. I wouldn't endorse it at 7. Dustin Kern's good basketball coach. He's not going to let this game be coming up and down affair. He'll slow it down, and that's going to obviously make that 7 points feel like an even larger mountain to climb here. Georgia State 6-1 last 7 against the number. They had sort of their trials and tribulations midseason. I think 2 COVID pauses threw a wrench in them becoming the team that we thought they would be, which is, I believe, the best in the Sun Belt. I think we all kind of agree that this is probably the hunted in a relatively parity-ridden league. Again, I just think the number's now been sharpened by the early money, and it's probably a stay away. And also I can see the total, Jim, from 139 to 135. Obviously, people are trying to play the under on the tough spot, overtime, tired legs for App State.
Yeah, and that's been their kind of their MO is let's slow the game down, especially against Coastal, one of the fastest teams in the country. They slowed it down. I mean, it had 77 possessions, but that's because it went to overtime. It was an ugly regulation. I mean, just disgusting. Right around like 50-50 at the end of regulation. This App State team has some shot makers. Like Adrian Delph and Justin Forrest at the end of games can make big shots. So I'm a little concerned at 7 of some backdoor potential here. If they do slow the game down and keep it close, I think this is a stay away as well at the current number. I do definitely see and understand and kind of agree with the angle of 4th and 4 days, double overtime, or 2 straight overtime games is what I mean. But I think it's a stay away. App State too well coached to lay 7 against them.
I agree. Number seems way too high. It's definitely just a situation versus number thing in my head. As Paul pointed out in the chat, all 5 starters played over 40 minutes yesterday for App State. Yep. James Lewis was out. They played 8 guys total. The 3 guys that came off the bench played a combined 17 minutes. Yeah. This team is gassed, man. Yeah. Like, Georgia State is the worst team imaginable to play in this situation in the Sun Belt. They're going to pressure them. They're going to send pressure. Rob Lanier is going to try to speed this game up, get out in transition. Georgia State has 3 awesome guards. They haven't lost in a month. I definitely lean towards Georgia State here at -7, even though I made this game.
And they go to the glass too. So it's like you want to run with them, stay up and down. It's just it's an unrelenting Georgia State attack. It's just a perfect setup to blow a team out that'll be gas. But again, Dustin Kern's a good coach. I think they control pace. So stay away from me.
All right. Chat mob questions. We're going to hit every game today. Let's be honest. Jim, you want to give us a couple here?
We don't have too many because we're also saving a couple for our best bets section. So I'll just give what we've got so far. Regis Austin asking about Hofstra and Elon.
Yeah.
It's a surprise quarterfinal matchup after Elon knocked off James Madison in the quarters. Honestly, guys, kind of I want Elon to make a run here. I bet on them 30-1 to win the conference, but James Madison got screwed. They called 2 technicals on JMU, one for a player screaming and one. And the ref was quoted, like heard by people saying, it's a technical today, coach. Like just totally ridiculous. And then Byington got teed up in the final minute and a half for being out of the coaching box, which seems like just a power trip type of technical.
God.
It gave Elon a 5-point possession when they were down 3, and suddenly they were up 2, and just totally changed the game. But yeah, I do like this Elon squad, so I don't trust Hofstra's defense. I actually lean towards Elon here, Matthew.
Yeah, I made it -6, but I've been probably too high on Hofstra all season. A team that loves to blow leads. I do not like laying. Even, I wouldn't call 5 a large spread, but you can see this game being, 7-8 late and Hofstra sort of messing around and Elon coming back as they did yesterday. That was annoying to rip up my JMU ticket because of a ref show. So frustrating. I will get over it. I will bounce back, but no action for me here. I just don't think you can trust either team spot-wise for Elon off the 3rd game in 3 days, I believe, and then off a crazy comeback they had. And then Hofstra, because they're just an unpredictable team. I don't know when they play defense. Jalen Ray went nuclear yesterday. Even if he goes cold today, I think it's a whole different type of offense where the Pride might struggle to score a little bit.
Yeah, leaning Elon. Nothing strong there. I think Hofstra wins the game, but 5 points. Hofstra's blown a lot of leads this year. Let's put it that way.
Let's see. Not really a ton else. I mean, I think the only other game that is non-outline, non-best bet is North Dakota State, South Dakota. So we might as well hit that one now.
Yeah, let's do that one.
South Dakota down A.J. Plitzowite. These two played to end the season. Plitzowite got hurt in the first leg, and South Dakota was still able to pull out a win that one. But then North Dakota State went nuts in the second game, won by 12, despite 39 from Stanley Umude from South Dakota. He's a problem, a total matchup nightmare, but I think North Dakota State has the weapons and a really good coach to get the W. However, just to note, South Dakota was off yesterday as the 2 seed. North Dakota State had to play last night against UMKC. So a little bit of a rest advantage for the Coyotes. Ky, anything for you on that one?
Man, up to 3 now. I kind of lean South Dakota. I know Plitzowite is an important piece to their team, or was. 3 points seems a little bit too much. It's going to be a low possession game. North Dakota State certainly not in any hurry to speed the game up. But Matt, we've talked about teams being better in certain tournaments. North Dakota State has been to the championship of this conference tournament, it seems, every single year, along with South Dakota State.
It is odd to see the money come in on North Dakota State. And we talked about in the A10 on our show on Friday how you could just pretty much predict with 100% accuracy that the early money is going to come in against the team on the back-to-back. Not the case here. And it makes me tempted to take the Yotes against the earliest team. But I just think North Dakota State's a more complete team. And I don't really want to bet against that right now, even though they are on the back-to-back. And South Dakota still, while they've kept the state afloat with Plitzowite, I just not a team I want to lay or take points with right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that this one got bet. I mean, I guess 1.5 up to 3 with the rest disadvantage surprised me a little bit. I guess it's still lingering Plitzowite money would be my guess there. I think that's pretty much it. If I missed one, we'll hit it in the chat section to close. But I think we can go through this outline and best bets, Ky.
Yes, sir. Going back to the rundown, here we go. Gonzaga at St. Mary's. This spread is hilarious. Gonzaga's favored by 18 points now over St. Mary's in a semifinal game of a conference tournament. What can you say? Gonzaga's this good. They beat the Gales by 14 and 22 this season. Matt, the second game, they were up by 38. They just kind of got bored, I guess, and took their feet off the gas pedal. I don't think St. Mary's has a prayer, but Randy Bennett is a good enough coach to maybe cover 18 points.
Yeah, I see Alex Dukas played 8 minutes last game for St. Mary's. He had missed the 3 prior. He's really their best interior scorer when fully healthy for my money.
He's a wing.
Sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. But he's one of their best players, regardless of how you slice it. Because point guard or center, who cares? But against Gonzaga's, size up front, obviously he's not going to be able to score much inside, but I think at least he is a weapon that they can go to for a team that's pretty much strapped for talent and bodies in general. It just feels like all season the Gales have been a brittle, on the verge of, cracking by Randy Bennett standards. Classic voodoo magic Bennett. They've kind of held it together somewhat in some spots, eked out a cover against a LMU team without Caleb Pepe last game. But Jim, I just don't see how you back the Gales here, even though it is a large number, and Bennett will control the tempo.
Yeah, that's the big thing is tempo in this neutral site game. Is he able to keep it close and make this competitive? Last year it landed 18 last year, and Gonzaga was not as good as they are this year, and St. Mary's was way better than they are this year. Way better. So I kind of lean Gonzaga here, but perhaps there's some backdoor action and respect enough to Bennett to not take it officially. St. Mary's has basically become the Logan Johnson show lately. Yeah. I'm not sure we all realize it, but last 4 games, 25 points, 17, 19. He has been their go-to guy. Yep. And against a team like Gonzaga, I think that's bad news because against better athleticism, he's in trouble. So
yeah, he's neutralized. Agree.
Yeah, lean towards Gonzaga. I am deferring because of Mr. Bennett.
Yeah, I agree, Jim. Couldn't said it better myself. Gonzaga's going to roll in this game. Just put it frankly. Moving on. Next WCC game: Pepperdine versus BYU. The Cougars, 8.5-point favorites. BYU's locked in, guys, for an at-large. Their resume is fantastic. But a win over Pepperdine might help their seeding a little bit here, getting to the championship game, getting another opportunity to beat Gonzaga. These teams split the season series, Jim. Pepperdine's guards sort of eat BYU in transition. Colby Ross, obviously fantastic. Edwards, tough matchup. But, man, that BYU size, Pepperdine can't really match up with it. Who do you like in this one?
I like BYU. Mark Pope with time to prep here against Lorenzo Romar. And BYU basically changed their identity in the last 2 weeks of the season, starting Gideon George and Caleb Lohner. A lot more versatility in that lineup rather than a lot of Colby Lee minutes. He's been banished to the bench. And so now they're really playing 4 versatile players and a center at all times. And that's just made them way better, more dangerous offensively and defensively, in my opinion. So I think BYU is the much better team. It's a steep spread, but again, motivated Pope or time with prepare to Pope and motivated BYU, I would probably go with the Cougars here, Matthew.
Yeah, big note here. Like we talked about Dukas coming back last game for St. Mary's. Bigger, I think, return was Kene Chukwuka for Pepperdine, one of their lone key bigs against the trees up front for BYU. He will be mega important. I was on BYU in both regular season matchups. I just think the line was way too high in both.
No, you're on Pepperdine.
Pepperdine,
sorry. Yeah, but I think both times, and they covered both. But it was certainly, you watched both games, you felt like Pepperdine was really scratching and clawing to get points, and BYU maybe just missed shots. So I think BYU is what my gut told me. I think the line is awfully inflated, though, so I will be staying away. And important to note that this is not a back-to-back for Pepperdine. They have a day off Sunday, so it's not playing like a lot of these other team with rest, catching team on back-to-back. At least there was that 24-hour period for them to recoup yesterday.
WCC doesn't play Sundays because of BYU.
The BYU, that's right.
There you go. I actually lean Pepperdine with the spread here. I think it's a little bit too high. Tournament setting, think the Waves compete a little bit. Not confident. BYU's matchup angles are better in this game. But plus 8.5, yeah, I would lean plus 9 in some places. I would lean towards Pepperdine. Moving on, last game before we get to best bets. Oral Roberts at South Dakota State, versus South Dakota State. Neutral floor here. Jack Bunnies minus 4.5, minus 5 even. A little bit of steam for the Jack Bunnies. Oral Bob, Jim, sneakily climbing the ladder of this conference. They've been great lately. South Dakota State is clearly the favorite to win this conference tournament, but still without Friedel, obviously. They're vulnerable. And Max Abmas, man.
Asmus. It's a weird pronunciation. But
yeah, it's weird.
The nation's leading scorer. He had 42 points in the game that Oral Roberts beat South Dakota State this season. The Eagles scored 103 in that game. They can do it. Who do you like in this game?
I kind of like Oral Roberts plus 5. I think it's close enough where I think they can win. They did split the regular season, like you said. 5 feels like a little too much. Oral Roberts also down a key guard. RJ Glasper is out for the season. He's been was very solid for them pre-injury. I think what jumped out at me, though, is the fact that Oral Roberts actually buckled down and played some defense in the quarterfinals. That's been their complete flaw all season, just a horrendous defense. But with two scorers like O'Banner and Asmus, and the fact that maybe they are going to actually focus on the defensive end, I think 5's a little too much. I mean, total for this game is crazy. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, so even if they get down 10, there's always a chance for a run both ways. I don't have anything strong on this one, just a very slight lean towards Oral Roberts.
Yeah, slight lean Oral Bob as well, and toward the under. It's a big total. The first matchup these two played this season, the game played to a relatively slower pace. Jimmy mentioned Oral Bob's defensive metrics, surface level, are bad. But you pull back the layer. They had the best block rate in the conference. They have some athletes. I think they're just sometimes disinterested in playing defense. And if there's ever a time to light a fire on that end of the floor, it's obviously a winner go home conference tournament. So I do think you could argue there's some undervalued edge there on Oral Bob as well. So if you have to play a side and a total, it's got to be Oral Bob and under here. Ky, what were you disagreeing with me?
No, I think Arthur asked about what's the best over bet on the board. I think it's this game.
It's this one?
It's 162. These games played 82 and 78 possessions during the year. This game's going to be 80 possessions for sure. Totals over 175, 180 in those games.
I'm looking at the wrong score, Ky. Thank you. You're right. I'm completely looking at the wrong prior matchup. I retract my prior pace point.
Neither team plays defense. There's going to be a ton of points. Oral Roberts hit 16 threes in both games against South Dakota State. They just can't stop Asmus, and Oral Roberts cannot stop Douglas Wilson on the glass. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. Lots and lots of scoring. I do lean towards Oral Bob, though, at +5. I think they're very, very underrated, this basketball team.
One more worth mentioning, the chat has pointed this out. Oral Roberts played last night. They had to beat North Dakota, and by virtue of being the 1 seed, South Dakota State was off yesterday. Their quarterfinal was a day before. So if you're into that rest advantage, then there is a little bit there for the Jack Bunnies.
Also, I just want to put Mr. Playtime saying that dogs are usually good bets on neutral floors. It's actually, the data says the opposite. Favorites have a little bit of an edge on these neutral floors. So I think these numbers sometimes feel higher, but the favorites are finally motivated. I think that kind of swings the other direction when you have larger spreads, but just on those kind of medium, shorter spreads, I think favorites are actually, if you're torn, you probably lean the favorite.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for putting him in his place.
Sure. No,
I'm
just trying to lighten the mob. Not trying to get a little tiff here.
Spreading misinformation is just tough, Matt. All right, we're going to go to best bets here. Jim, your best bet, please.
Yep, already gave it. UNC Greensboro -5, taking on Mercer in the SoCon final. I just think Mercer would be a little bit out of gas, and the UNCG guards can get downhill, get into the paint. There's not a lot of great perimeter defense on the Mercer side. So I will take Greensboro, even though, obviously Mercer will be a desperate dog to get a NCAA tournament bid. -5, the Spartans.
All righty. Matthew.
Love it. Almost out of there, Jim. Decided against it the last second, I think just based on the early movement. But talked about Oakland earlier, +1.5. But my best bet is Rider +6.5. Was hoping it would hold steady at 7. If 7 or 6.5 is at your book, I would recommend buying the hook. If you can get 7, hop all over that right now. Rider was terrible when they came out of their second COVID pause. But the last 3 games, they beat St. Peter's. They played Monmouth close back-to-back in the series last weekend. I think this team's kind of on the up and up. They got Dwight McMurray back 3 games ago. They're fully healthy. Kevin Baggett, you read his off-the-floor, post-game quotes. He's usually pretty brutally honest. And he talked about how terrible they were going to be to start the year. But he seems really optimistic now. You read his quotes after the Monmouth game, and I'm just sort of buying into that to some degree. And I think this game just plays kind of ugly. And I like catching the points here against Canisius.
I lean your way, Matthew. Spread feels high. Okay, my best bet, guys. A bit scary one, I'll be honest. Northeastern, +1.5 is my best bet. Shaq Walters is out for Northeastern, so tread lightly. Yeah. He is one of their better players. I just think Northeastern is a tough out, man, in the Colonial Tournament. Bill Cohen's been in this situation 100 times. Sort of uncharted territory for Drexel getting this far. They've certainly been very good this year. They have a ton of talent. Northeastern, though, best defensive team in the league. They play scrappy. They make you work. Drexel is the best offense. I think Bill Cohen has an awesome game plan for this one. Also, the Huskies have the best player on the floor, Tyson Walker. I'm going to hitch my wagon to him. I think Northeastern still has a great chance to win the conference tournament, despite Walters being out. Jason Strong also iffy for today, game time decision. They took care of William & Mary without him. Certainly Drexel's a lot better than William & Mary, but you're going to give me Northeastern as a dog in a conference tournament. They tend to dominate last couple of years. I will take Northeastern. They shoot more threes than anybody in the conference. hoping they get a little bit hot tonight. Northeastern plus 1.5.
Yeah, Ky, I'm not going to put the stink on it and add it with you. I wouldn't do that to your best bet, but I think that's the right side in my opinion. I think they should be an ever so slight favorite. Best player, best defense, best coach in the matchup. So I would probably certainly lean towards Northeastern.
Oh, Matt? +2 Ducky Racing. Thanks, man. I'll take that.
There's a couple. There's a two or one or two twos out there. Why not? +2. Let's do it. Joe Gunderson agrees. There you go.
Okay. Anything else we got in the chat, Jim?
No, I'll just ask because I saw it. Somebody asked, I think like Tennessee +550 to win the SEC. I don't have a huge opinion on that. They did look better, and they're certainly better with Springer on the court. They had a great second half, potentially the most talented team in the league. But I haven't looked at the odds enough to give you a great opinion on that. So I wouldn't mislead you.
Hey, I should probably add, so my best bet is on a neutral floor taking points. So I realize I'm contradicting my initial take there. But I made this line 3, so I can't not take it. I think the line's way too high. It's way too inflated. Very indicative of Riders' post-COVID horrific play, which I think they're now riding the shift and are thus undervalued, Ky.
Yeah. I should mention Northeastern, their second game out of their shutdown. Yesterday was the first game out of shutdown.
Yep.
Maybe that helps. Maybe it hurts their legs. Just more information for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't blindly bet trends, obviously. I mean, ignore a trend if you have a better side. But
exactly.
Don't say the wrong trend. Okay, that does it for our show. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow, Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central. Again, sbrpicks.com/NCAAB and also sbrpicks.com/March-Madness. 2 sites that are required viewing for our March time. We will see you tomorrow. Please subscribe and like the channel before we go. Have a good one. See you Tuesday.